Okay, let's get started. Let's get to the news. There's a lot to cover. January 6th committee is planning to vote on the subpoena during Trump hearing, which they have voted for already. They have voted yes. They will be subpoenaing Donald motherfucking J. Trump.
Can now report that the January 6th committee plans to vote to subpoena former President Donald Trump during today's hearing. Sources familiar with the committee's plans tell NBC News, with members wanting to put this historic move on the public record, despite multiple members previously acknowledging how difficult or even unlikely it would be for the former president to comply, and this subpoena would expire with the current Congress. Katie, but this has been noticed to the Speaker of the House. Speaker Pelosi has been notified of it. It would not be unprecedented. We understand that, from our former Justice correspondent Pete Williams has written notes to this effect that Thomas Jefferson, Richard Nixon, and Bill Clinton were all subpoenaed by Congress. Jefferson refused to comply on documents. Nixon won the tapes, resigned instead. Bill Clinton agreed to testify, so the subpoena was withdrawn. But, Katie, this would be an extraordinary step, and there's been a lot of other testimony today that is just compelling. We'll go through that in a moment.
It would be an extraordinary step in this moment. The question is, would Donald Trump want to take him up on that? Would he want that live audience, all those millions of people watching, to see him push back directly on the committee? We know from reporting that he has been frustrated by a lack of defense that he's seen in these committee hearings, which have got millions upon millions upon millions of viewers, tens of millions of viewers, a large, giant audience. Well,
this is the funniest way to bait Trump into going on, though, because you could just be like, Trump, you're going to have a big stage. You're going to have the hugest stage. Donald Trump loves presenting himself as an enemy to like all things liberals consider to be important, right? And this is an opportunity for him to get catty with it in front of like a large, in front of the grandest stage. Of course, he probably won't do it because there could be legal implications on top of that. You know what I mean? Because like, it's not just Donald Trump responding to a subpoena or whatever. It's also certainly about the legal consequences of what his involvement was at the end of it all, I'm saying. But he's so narcissistic. Nah, I think he's narcissistic, but he wants to cover his ass.
Will Donald Trump want to turn away that opportunity? That is an open question.
I mean, that's like goading him into doing it, but I don't think he's going to do that.
We got a little bit of an indication that this was where this committee was going right at the outset of this committee hearing when Liz Cheney said we can't just punish the foot soldiers. And they've been trying to paint this picture that Donald Trump was in the center of it. Donald Trump knew what was going to happen. He was a part of this. And then she said this. Let's listen.
Mr. Chairman, the violence and lawlessness of January 6th was unjustifiable. But our nation cannot only punish the foot soldiers who stormed our Capitol. Those who planned to overturn our election and brought us to the point of violence must also be accountable. With every effort to excuse or justify the conduct of the former president, we chip away at the foundation of our republic. Indefensible conduct is defended, inexcusable conduct is excused. Without accountability, it all becomes normal and it will recur. So as we watch the evidence today, please consider where our nation is in its history. Consider whether we can survive for another 246 years.
Here you go.
Most people
Blasting
in
off
most
one more
places
time,
on
boys.
Earth have not been free. America is an exception. And America continues only because we bind ourselves to our founders' principles, to our Constitution. We recognize that some principles must be beyond politics, inviolate, and more important than any single American who has ever lived.
And with her making that point, that is the frame that they initially wanted to put on all of this, that Donald Trump broke all the rules, had a premeditated plan, was told repeatedly by top officials that the election was over, had not been stolen. But I just want to point out, Katie, that it's one thing for him to say at a rally, as he just did the other day, that the election was stolen, and you go through all of these false statements.
No, Liz Cheney doesn't still pretend her sister's not gay. She apologized for her anti-LGBT sentiment. She still, of course, has not apologized for all the other shit, like, defending her father's unjustifiable human rights abusive torture methods, such as waterboarding. She still thinks that's pretty fucking tight. Between Liz Warren, Liz Cheney, and Liz Truss, seems like we're entering the Elizabethan era of freaking badass girl bosses who get shit done for real. You go, girls. Respect. It's true. It's true. Hud, you're right.
He can't do that under oath to Congress, so testifying would be at the risk of perjuring himself and creating a crime in full view.
It would definitely put him in a more perilous position. I'm certain the committee would want to have him come do exactly that, as he has done in public. But it is a tempting prospect, is my point about Donald Trump. We'll see if any of his lawyers are successful, if he wanted to, in fighting back to say, no, this is not a good idea. Back with us.
Damn, abrupt cut. Why would she apologize for her father's actions, though? Brother, there is not mentioning her father's actions, and then there's being a Republican politician who thinks waterboarding is great. Liz Cheney is not in the first category. Liz Cheney is in the second category. What? Yo, some of you fucking liberals love girl bossing, dude, a little too hard. You know what I mean? Did you see this? No, I saw this going viral, but I don't know what this was about. We'll take a look at it. It might be like Liz Cheney isn't just some girl boss with like a shit father. You know, it's from last year. Oh, okay. That's old. Haha, baby, why do you talk like a valley girl? Not saying it's bad. It's hot, but I am curious. Do I talk like a valley girl? I don't know. But oftentimes this comes from a very weird subsect of the internet that says stuff like that. It's also the same group of people that regularly say I am a girl, which is like a 12-year-old mindset. But I'm a valley girl in a valley world. I don't think your accent is particularly regional, but you've also lived all over the world around a lot of different people and picked up a lot, maybe? Probably. Anyway, regardless. Alex Jones meltdown with Steven Crowder. Alex Jones went on Steven Crowder's show. What the fuck? That's crazy. Hey, wait, hold up. Stasi Joao do Brasil, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Healthy Policy, thank you for the 5 gifted subs as well. The Valley Girl argument is a ridiculous one. Alex Jones went on fucking Steven Crowder. Oh my God. Stop playing with me. Why? Oh my Lord. Okay, we'll talk all about that. All right. But getting back to the January 6th committee or January 6th commission and everything that's going on there. There was previously unseen footage showing congressional leaders, both Republicans and Democrats, as they are taken to a secure location during the January riot. Everyone involved was actively working to address the violence. All of them did what President Trump refused to do. I don't really care about the additional footage. But January 6th chair Benny Thompson, in his closing statement, says, "We have left no doubt, none, that Donald Trump led an effort to upend American democracy that directly resulted in the violence of January 6th. Doja Smoke, thank you for the 5 gifted. Thompson on Trump says he tried to take away the voice of the American people in choosing their president and replace the will of the voters with his will to remain in power. He is the one person at the center of the story of what happened on January 6th, so we want to hear from him." Okay. He also said, "We also recognize that a subpoena to a former president is a serious and extraordinary action. That's why we want to take this step in the full view of the American people. Stakes are so high for our future and our democracy." Text of the resolution as read: "Resolved that the chairman and is hereby directed to subpoena Donald J. Trump for documents and testimony in connection with the January 6th attacks on the United States Capitol." Okay. The 9-0, the January 6th Select Committee votes unanimously to subpoena Donald Trump because, look at them, folks. It's because they're selfish. It's because they're biased. Bye-bye, I win. And with that, the January 6th has been adjourned, but Donald Trump had some statements about this. Of course, Donald Trump responds to the January 6th committee's vote to subpoena him. Doesn't say whether he will comply. He also repeats his false claims about massive voter fraud after former aides testified that he knew he lost. Why didn't the Unselect Committee, fucking got him, ask me to testify months ago? Why did they wait until the very end, the final moments of their last meeting? Because the committee is a total bust that has only served to further divide our country, which, by the way, is doing very badly. A laughingstock all over the world, ? The Unselect Committee, got him, knowingly failed to examine the massive voter fraud which took place during the 2020 presidential election. The reason for what took place on January 6th. Well, this is just a straight justification for it. Trump went so apeshit on truth that it has to be a scroll video. Oh, he started fucking doom posting. He started rage posting, which is always awesome. Whenever someone who is like mentally unstable gets into a predicament on social media, they start fucking blasting off like this. And Trump is, of course, no different. This is he is the king poster. What is this? New York Post. FBI Trump raid exposes Washington's secrecy shams. Barack Obama has missing records. When will the FBI ransack his house? Town hall. Court Cheney can decide what records to save. What the fuck is this? Sponsored truth? What? These are the... I just crashed my bike again. A message from Sleepy Joe says, I just crashed my bike again. Also, Donald Trump not defeating the bisexuality allegations here. He wants to be as queer as a $2 bill. I'm just saying, putting your face on the $2 bill, baby. Everybody knows. Oh my God, Michelle Living Blue, Texas, checked in with some of our friends who have been screaming bloody murder. It's a $3 bill. Oh shit, I didn't realize that was. I thought it was a $2 bill. Trump is on his Kanye arc. First of all, Kanye is on his Trump arc. Let's be real. Kanye, some of you think he's a visionary or whatever, but when it comes down to it, okay, other designers might have bit off Kanye a little bit on certain things, but this is one area where Kanye through and through has bit off Donald Trump. Let's be fucking real. Kanye West's, Trumpian arc has been just a total sequence of L's, just L taking. It's a masterclass in that. It's Ye, not Kanye. Okay, whatever. Wanted, FBI director willing to conduct internal review of January 6th intelligence law enforcement failure. Ken Delaney and Ryan J. Riley report this doc informing top FBI sizable percentage of the employee population that felt sympathetic to the group that stormed the Capitol. Holy shit. I mean, I hate to say I told you so, but god damn, brother, this is like such a told you moment. I don't know what else to tell you. Wow, the outtakes didn't disappoint. I mean, this is old.
The heinous attack yesterday, and to those who broke the law.
I told you it was pig-on-pig violence at the Capitol, baby. I don't know why no one trusts me when I say this shit. Okay? It's pig-on-pig violence. That's how it is. That's how it be. Where the fuck was it? Did I lose it? Oh, here it is. Do you think this will have meaningful consequences? I don't think anything will have meaningful consequences. Pelosi said poo-poo in the new footage. I don't care. All right, so that's it. That's it on that front. I think we talked about it enough. There's some new Mar-a-Lago information that came out as well. Report shows Trump told employee to move boxes with the Mar-a-Lago documents in the aftermath of the subpoena, adding more questions to Trump's already questionable behavior in document keeping. Very weird, very strange stuff. Let's take a look.
Reporting that a Trump employee told agents about being directly ordered to move the boxes of documents by the former president himself. The transfer was caught on surveillance camera. Our chief Washington correspondent John Carl starts us off. Good morning, John.
Good morning, George. As the January 6th committee prepares for what is expected to be its final hearing today on Capitol Hill, the focus is on that new reporting about the documents that Donald Trump took with him to Mar-a-Lago when he left the White House.
One of Donald Trump's own employees at Mar-a-Lago has been cooperating with the Justice Department, according to a new report in the Washington Post. The Post reports the employee told federal investigators that after Donald Trump received a subpoena for government documents back in May, the former president specifically requested the documents be moved. According to the Post, security camera footage from Mar-a-Lago obtained by the FBI corroborated the employee's description of events. The Post reports that the employee initially denied handling any sensitive documents. But during a second interview presented with the new evidence, the witness reportedly changed their story dramatically, describing moving the boxes at Trump's request. ABC News has not confirmed the Post's reporting. The report raises questions of whether Trump obstructed justice and whether he tried to hide documents that federal officials had asked to be returned, documents that he had taken from the White House after he left office. In August, FBI agents executed a search warrant of Mar-a-Lago and seized more than 30 boxes of documents, including over 100 government documents marked classified.
The former president responded to the new reporting. His spokesperson did, George, not by directly addressing any of these new details, but by once again attacking the investigators, accusing the Justice Department, quote, of dangerous political interference.
Okay, John, meantime, as you talked about the January 6th committee, what could be their final hearing today, no new live witnesses, but lots of new evidence.
Yeah, and look at this really as the closing argument. The January 6th committee is going to come back to what has really been their central theme, and that is that it was Donald Trump that set in motion the series of events that led to the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. And it was Donald Trump who, even as he saw what was unfolding, even as he saw his own supporters attacking the building, did nothing to stop them. No new witnesses, but there is they do have new evidence. They continued to interview witnesses and tape depositions over the summer. I expect you'll see some of that, and also some new documents from the Secret Service about just what Trump was told about the threat of violence on January 6th.
Okay, John, thanks very much. ABC News will have full coverage.
I mean, look at Massive You Natty. Of course, dude. I wish I wasn't. I would have a way lower body fat percentage. Let's be real. Guys, you don't understand. Donald Trump personally declassified all those documents in his head. Bye-bye. And not only that, but then he also personally decided that he needs to keep those documents away from the gross FBI. Okay? Why? Because QAnon. He needed to save American society and the soul of America. He needed to make America great again. And the only way to do that was by defending those documents and keeping them off out of the hands of the FBI. Wait, for real? Is that confirmed? Wait, what? What do you mean? I can't tell if you're being serious. I mean, that's essentially what the fuck this is going to turn into. Okay, that is basically what this is. What his argument is, pretty much. So Tucker Carlson had some takes about the John Fetterman interview that took place by NBC. We talked about this yesterday. Shit was some of the grossest a weaponization of ableism I've seen in my many years of being in the media. Okay, straight up. And Tucker Carlson had some things to say about that. Let's take a look at like a brief synopsis of it, like one of the juicier bits of it.
The guy's reading his answers off a screen with the reporter 3 feet away.
Yeah, he's like, wow, he can't hear. Back in my day, people used to be able to hear. Back in my day, you would not have a president that could not hear, or a politician.
That's the definition of impairment. And again, this is a very serious job. But others in the media scoffed at the idea that was a problem at all. In fact, far from being a problem, it was an asset.
What's ironic is he's literally reading from a fucking teleprompter. Like, that's crazy. He's reading from a teleprompter himself.
But others in the media scoffed at the idea that was a problem at all. In fact, far from being a problem, it was an asset. Because if the equity agenda means anything, it means that incompetent people ought to be in charge. That's equity.
Tucker Carlson claims that the NBC interview shows Fetterman reading his answers off a screen with a reporter 3 feet away because he's a huge liar who has contempt for his viewers and knows that his bosses don't care how dishonest he is. Let's take a look at the larger picture here, because he makes inferences that John Fetterman is like a cyborg or something. Like, he makes it seem as though John Fetterman is like a more machine than man at this point, because he needs hearing aids, which in a weird way kind of makes it cool. Again, like they're just making him look cooler. I don't know. But let's take a look. Let's take a look at what Tucker Carlson had to say.
Welcome to Tucker Carlson tonight. John Fetterman is a trust fund kid. He took money from his parents deep into middle age when he decided finally.
Tucker Carlson saying someone else is a trust fund kid is so fucking awesome. That's crazy. Your name is literally Buckley McNear, dude. Your middle name is Buckley and McNear. Tucker Buckley McNear Swanson. Your last name is Swanson. You literally grew up, went to a liberal arts college. You are the poster boy of the lacrosse bro. Holy fuck, dude. That is insane. It's like me calling out someone for running ads at the top of the hour every hour, for especially if it's a 60-second ad break, which is slated to increase. Because at the top of the hour, there's a 6-second ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you could do for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. You get one free Prime subscription a month. Alex Franco AV, thank you for the 5 get the subs, allowing 5 people to no longer see the ads. Here is the 1-minute ad break now. Let's continue.
Finally, what he would like to do with the rest of his life, which is to be the U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania. The problem is fate intervened and he can now no longer speak. He had a bad stroke and we feel bad about that. Everyone does. But because
do you? I don't think you do, brother.
Because of that stroke, Fetterman now needs electronic assistance in order to communicate with other people. He can't talk on his own. It's not a right-wing conspiracy theory. It's not.
What do you mean can't talk on his own? You're making it seem like he can't talk. No, he can't hear, you fucking piece of shit. He has a hearing impairment as a consequence of his fucking stroke. That is bananas. He is trying to make it in the exact same way that NBC did. He's trying to make it a larger issue than it actually is. Okay? And even that is supposed to be temporary, if I'm not mistaken. But it doesn't matter. He's just lying. He's lying to and trying to make it harder than it actually is, or worse than it actually is.
It's real. In fact, it's so real, his campaign concedes that it's real.
Oh, fuck, never mind. He said, you might think I'm lying, but it's real. I love when Tucker Carlson says some of the most unhinged shit, right? He'd be like, the Democratic Party is lying to you. The Democratic Party is doing a complicated immigration scheme, taking immigrants and paying for them to travel all the way from Guatemala to your backyard in Texas, specifically so they can turn your neighborhood into a quinceañera. Now, you might think that that's untrue, but it's real. He always says that. He will say some of the most unhinged shit and then tag that with, now you might find this unbelievable, but it's true. And it's basically just a trust me, bro. Source, I made it up.
That is true. Fetterman uses a software program to understand the words of those around him and to formulate his responses to those words. In other words, to talk. Now, to be perfectly clear, this software is not a hearing aid. Fetterman doesn't need a hearing aid because he isn't deaf. He's not hearing impaired. Instead, this program takes words and then rearranges them into language that John Fetterman can understand because his brain can no longer do that for him. Now, that's sad. For transhumanists, though, it is thrilling. This is an amazing moment. This is Neil Armstrong on the moon. Here you have one of the most famous politicians in the country merging with a computer. This is the future they imagine. They're thrilled by it. But for everyone else, for the voters of Pennsylvania, for example, it does raise some obvious questions. For example, where exactly does the software end and John Fetterman's consciousness begin?
Okay. I had to wait until the end of his rant to mention something like this. It is so incredible that Tucker Carlson, whose audience average age is like 83, claiming that someone with some kind of auditory processing issue or like someone that needs hearing aids is a transhumanist cyborg. Then half of your fucking audience is a cyborg, man. Now, many of you will say this will backfire because like all of those conservatives will recognize that Tucker is shitting on them. They will not. Because there's nothing that conservatives love more than being fat and then looking at the TV man and going, that man's fat, I'm built differently. We saw this during COVID. They'd be like, oh, I don't need a vaccine, I'm in good shape. While simultaneously looking at motherfuckers that looked exactly like them, or motherfuckers literally down the retirement home, down the hall in the retirement home that look exactly like them, dying to COVID without taking the fucking vaccine. They don't recognize it. They don't recognize that they would also be considered half human, half machine, cyborgs. They don't see that. They would be like, oh, yeah, that's John Fetterman. They're going after Oz for denying the Armenian genocide now. Welcome to the long overdue U.S. recognition of the Armenian genocide. In the Senate, I'll continue supporting public education about this atrocity. It's deeply disturbing that Dr. Oz doesn't acknowledge the Armenian genocide. His refusal to do so is both offensive and damning. Wait, Dr. Oz denies it? That's crazy. Like, it is mind-boggling to me that Dr. Oz has not been hit with this when I, as a fucking Twitch streamer who has never denied the Armenian genocide, get attacked for it every fucking day. Literally, I've never denied the Armenian genocide. Never. And motherfuckers will still be like, nah, you're Turkish. You definitely do. You do. Can you address why you are deny the Armenian genocide? I'm like, I haven't. But it is kind of crazy. I'd be surprised if Dr. Oz has openly denied it, considering that he was, raised in America. Yeah, when will Tucker cover this half man, half machine? Yeah. The average 500-year-old Tucker viewer and reading this Chiron on screen 2 inches from your face with bifocals while you got a pacemaker, hearing aid, and dialysis. Fuck them cyborgs. Yeah. Fetterman is a chum. And it's time that this chromehead gets what he deserves. He's about to go cyber psycho. And guess what? Night City has had one too many cyber psycho attacks. Bottom right gonk. I am not a gonk. Many people are saying that I'm being paid by Arasaka to make this kind of propaganda. Those people are lying. Dude, Tucker Carlson is basically a test, okay? A stress test on how insane you can get on the most popular news broadcast in America and still maintain your audience and brainwash them into believing whatever the fuck you're saying. I mean, after the anime milk jug titty hentai shit, it was over for me. Once I saw the big milk jugs, exploding milk jug porn, like once I heard Tucker Carlson say those words, it was a wrap for me. That's when I realized, like, you know, things are never going to be the same.
We don't know. We can't know. But it's obvious that Pennsylvania could very well be sending a computer program to the U.S. Senate where inevitably it will be hacked. Yesterday, MSNBC...
I mean, he's had so many crazy moments, actually, now that I think about it. He had exploding milk jug porn. He covered the Ontario teacher with the big-ass titties when he said the exploding milk jug porn. He talked about how the green M&M wasn't fuckable enough. Like... last 2 days ago, he had what is it called? Raw egg nationalism. The guy who like guzzles raw egg, but he's like a nationalist. I mean, he's just like total freak mode. He's had such insane fucking coverage.
He sat down with John Fetterman and his thinking machine to assess where the man ends and the machine begins. And the initial impressions were not at all encouraging.
Ballsack tanning.
We had a monitor set up so that he could read.
Yeah, he loves NBC now. Look at that. He normally rips NBC a new asshole. If this was happening to a Republican candidate, oh my Lord, Tucker Carlson would have something to say. Oh my fucking Lord, dude.
My questions because he still has lingering auditory processing issues as a result of the stroke, which means he has a hard time understanding what he's hearing. Now, once he reads the question, he's able to understand. You'll hear he also still has some problems, some challenges with speech. And I'll say, Katie, that just in some of the small talk prior to the interview, before the closed captioning was up and running, it did seem that he had a hard time understanding our conversations.
Well, good for her for admitting that. That's a rival channel. Don't watch a lot of MSNBC, but she should tell viewers that, and she did. And what she just told you is that before the machine was turned on, John Fetterman could not understand human language, not even...
He said John Fetterman could not understand human language. Dog, if John Fetterman could not understand human language, then he wouldn't be able to read and understand human language. He would not be able to carry conversation, okay? Language doesn't come only in the form of hearing someone. That is an insane way to cover this. It is so fucked up. He's literally trying to say John Fetterman is a cyborg. He only speaks in ones and zeros. The binary code.
Even small talk. But once the machine was plugged in, he sounded, or the machine sounded, nearly human. But don't worry. Everything's going to be fine in the Senate as long as there's not a power outage. It's not like the electricity ever goes down in this country. We definitely have enough renewables to keep John Fetterman voting the right way for the next 6 years.
Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. This is wild, dude. I mean, this like, fuck. The level of ableism that is going on in this kind of coverage is mind-boggling, okay? It's crazy. My man needs hearing aids, and therefore he's now a robot. It's fucked up.
Better build some more wind farms. That's the plan. But once again, to the credit of the MSNBC reporter, she did ask a follow-up. How do we know your thinking machine isn't going to break, John Fetterman? Can we see a doctor's report on this? Here's how that exchange went.
Can voters trust that you will be able to do this job on day one?
Yeah, of course.
So you say you're on the road to full recovery, but right now, voters really have to take your word for it. We've asked for your medical records. We've asked to have a conversation with someone from your medical team, to interview your physician. You've declined those requests. Why?
Well, I feel like we have been very transparent in a lot of different ways when our doctor has already given a letter saying that I'm able to serve and to be running.
I mean, respectfully, that letter from your physician, that was 6 months ago. Don't voters deserve to know your status now?
Being in front of thousands and thousands of people and having interviews and getting around all across Pennsylvania, that gives everybody and the voters decide, if they think that it's really the issue.
So he's reading that off a screen. And by the way, we're taking him at his word that there's not a staffer backstage typing out the answer.
Dude, what the fuck? He's not reading the answers, you fucking piece of shit. He's reading the questions. That's crazy. He's just lying. I mean, why am I surprised? Oh my God, why am I surprised? Of course he's fucking lying. But that's so incredible. Like the purposeful way in which he is misrepresenting what happened. God, that's so fucked up. That's so insanely fucked. I mean, holy moly. Holy moly. Like it's not enough, right? Like they can't hit him on like, oh, he can't think good. They can't say that. They want to say that, right? They want to say that like, oh, his brain's not working well. But they can't say that because he's competent in responding to questions, right? So now they have to just make shit up and be like, well, is he actually capable of crafting sentences without reading from a staffer potentially? He's not writing those answers. No one is writing those answers. He's the one who's fucking reading those questions and then responding. You think that fucking 37-minute attack ad that was full of some of the most disgusting, awful, ridiculous, vicious, ableist attacks you've ever seen on a fucking candidate, you think that they wouldn't rip John Fetterman if someone else was writing his answers? That's crazy. To be honest, though, no one watching Tucker was ever going to vote for Fetterman anyways, though. Guys, do you think that Tucker Carlson's rhetoric is unimpactful? How many people in Pennsylvania watch him? How many people in Pennsylvania that would be like, you know what, this Fetterman guy, he does seem like an interesting dude. I mean, I don't fucking know. I don't know about much, but he doesn't seem like the regular Democrat. Will then turn around and be like, I'm definitely not voting for him. Of course it's impactful. This is the most popular broadcast. You have relatives of people that are going to go out and vote in Pennsylvania that are going to go and talk to their relatives and be like, yeah, we're not doing this. You know, don't do it. Don't vote for that guy. He's not competent. His brain doesn't work. At this point, fake news has become just a permanent staple. I mean, it always was, right? But now it's gotten to a point where it's just impossible to avoid. Every industry cuts it. Everyone does it. All the way from like tiny stan culture microcosms all the way to fucking Tucker Carlson on the main stage. It's just how we operate now. It's such a weird, fucked up, awful way to live. Always. How do we pass legislation to ban fake news? You kind of can't. You can't do anything.
Because he himself can't formulate them. Now, again, you can feel
like you, yeah, like me. I love doing fake news.
Deeply sympathetic to John Fetterman. That's sad to watch. But this is a guy who wants to run the federal government in a body of 100, the most powerful legislative body in the world, and he wants to be a member of it. So over at CBS, reporter Ed O'Keefe asked the obvious question, quote, will Pennsylvanians be comfortable with someone representing them who had to conduct a TV interview this way?
That's crazy. Fuck you, man. Dude, NBC's going balls to the wall with this shit. Ed O'Keefe, like, what the fuck? In a normal world, in a normal planet, if these guys were like actually doing their fucking jobs, this guy would get suspended. Like, Ed O'Keefe is one of the top White House correspondents in the fucking nation, dude. Actual question, how is this different to Alex Jones? It's not. It's not. Like, there's varying degrees of fake news. Tucker Carlson toes the line very well, very adequately. But people, even before Alex Jones got his comeuppance, had actually, done similar things like Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly is responsible for the death, the assassination of an abortion doctor, an abortion provider. He made him the main villain every fucking night. What did he say? He used to say, killer, killer, Dr. Tiller, right? Tiller, Tiller, the baby killer. Same shit. He was actually fucking, that was the most popular broadcast at the time.
Way. Now, that's a mild way to put it, but it's certainly a fair observation. The guy's reading his answers off a screen with the reporter 3 feet away. That's the definition of impairment. And again, this is a very serious job. But others in the media scoffed at the idea that was a problem at all. In fact, far from being a problem, it was an asset. Because if the equity agenda means anything, it means that incompetent people ought to be in charge. That's equity. As New York City Councilwoman Rita Joseph put it, questions about Fetterman's profound brain damage are, quote, incredibly ableist.
Profound brain damage. Profound brain damage. Dog, you fucking... What? He deleted the tweet? What do you mean? Motherfucker said profound brain damage as he's like literally reading a teleprompter off the screen, okay? Reading a teleprompter, if reading a teleprompter implies you have profound brain damage, well, Tucker, you are the most brain damaged motherfucker, dude.
Ableist. We desperately need more diversity in elected office, and that includes people with speech impediments. Well, we desperately need that. That is absolutely right. But actually, we're not talking about a speech impediment. She's telling us he's got a stutter, just like Joe Biden. Remember when they told you that Joe Biden's dementia was just a stutter?
But dog, Joe Biden's brain capacity has diminished, okay? That's the difference between me and someone like Tucker Carlson. I'm honest enough to recognize, admit, and mention that Joe Biden's brain capacity has diminished beyond a stutter. Okay, as a matter of fact, his stutter coming back is part of the reason why you can believe that his brain capacity is diminished. Okay, straight up. Like not knowing exactly where he is at any given moment and like saying that he's in Iowa when he's in fucking Wisconsin or whatever. That's indicative. Okay. That's indicative of a cognitive function decline. All right. It's bananas to try to cut that in. It's bananas to try to cut that into John Fetterman's unique predicament right now.
But of course, the speech impediment would not prevent Fetterman or Biden from understanding other people's speech. Investigative reporter Hunter Walker, who writes for Rolling Stone and The New Yorker, answered that question with a question of his own. Quote, would they treat a deaf person like this for needing assistance? Oh, so if you have questions about John Fetterman, you hate the deaf. You're a hearingist, bigot.
Wait, what? Yeah, that is true. You do, though. He's literally trying to... Wait, why are they saying don't question whether Fetterneck can do the job? Why are they... What? They're calling him Fetterneck? What? They talk about the growth on his neck. Did you just notice that? Oh, Fetterman has a bump on his neck. Okay, so they're saying he has like a tumor on his neck or something? Jesus Christ, dude. As always, like his coverage of Another Opinion is say it in a funny voice. I don't know what else to say about any of this, dude. I mean, this is so trash.
We're going to close down your bank account at JP Morgan, ableist. But again, it's not really relevant.
Now he's tying it back to more tangible forms that like, or battles that like Tucker Carlson's audience is used to fighting. And I don't know. And saying like it's cancel culture. Look, they're just trying to do cancel culture on you if you have reasonable suspicion that John Fetterman's brain is not working.
Relevant to the Senate race in
He
Pennsylvania.
even made a Kanye West reference to the JP Morgan thing.
Because once again, John Fetterman doesn't have hearing problems. He's not deaf. This isn't deafness. This is brain damage. So the Independent's Eric Michael Garcia tried to tie up that loose end, and he used an analogy to do it. That's how really smart people talk. How is this any different, he wrote, from Tammy Duckworth or Madison Cawthorn needing a wheelchair? Oh, so John Fetterman being unable to talk without reading it off a screen, either from the software or from one of his staffers backstage, is exactly the same as being wounded in defense of your own country. It's a war injury.
Yeah, Madison Cawthorn was wounded in defense of your country, too. No, it doesn't have to be the exact same, you fucking idiot. It's an analogy, and this is perfectly analogous. Yes, people have disabilities, including Tammy Duckworth and Madison Cawthorn, okay? Also, senators need hearing aids. They're not fucking war injuries. Once again, Tucker Carlson picking apart a piece of the argument being made without actually seeing the argument and then trying to fucking laugh it off, go in Joker mode, and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even fucking matter, okay? It doesn't matter because, like, his audience will eat it up. God, I hate this so much.
And then John Fetterman's wife, who came into this country as an illegal alien, by the way, wondered the same thing. And we're quoting, truly appalling. Have these journalists never heard of the Americans with Disabilities Act? Really curious to learn how they feel about wheelchairs and glasses, end quote. Really? So your questions about John Fetterman's mental health, the acuity of his brain, his ability to talk and listen and reason, use his higher faculties, those questions are banned by the Americans with Disabilities Act because he's not just an incompetent guy trying to take over the country. No, he's disabled. Over at Vox, Ian Millhouse.
But he is. But he is. I don't get it. He is literally disabled. You spent 7 minutes of the 60-minute broadcast shitting on his disability. He refuses to read the rest of the fucking statements that talk about seeing aids and hearing aids, right? Tucker Carlson on his Pol Pot shit, dude. He's literally like, line him up. You wear glasses, we're going to put one in the back of your dome. Okay? He's just straight up. I hate it. I hate it. I see this. It fills my heart with sadness. Makes me upset to see that this is the most popular news broadcast. And then I'm reminded that there are motherfuckers out there who hate me as much as I hate Tucker Carlson for shit that I say. They see what I have to say, whether it be every American, regardless of their political orientation, deserves health care. And you know, workers deserve more from their own labor. And they're like, dude, you are the fucking worst. I hate that. Sucks. Anyway, it's not.
Heiser said he knows exactly how Fetterman's bigoted critics view people with eyeglasses. Dr. Khmer Rouge, quote, is it the position of NBC News?
Wait, he did bring up Pol Pot. Wait, what the fuck?
Vox, Ian Millhiser said he knows exactly how Fetterman's bigoted critics act use his higher faculties. Those questions are banned by the Americans with Disabilities Act because he's not just an incompetent guy trying to take over the country. No, he's disabled. Over at Vox, Ian Millhiser said he knows exactly how Fetterman's bigoted critics view people with eyeglasses. Dr. Khmer Rouge.
Dog, he literally, oh my God. I can't, I don't know what to say. I despise this. I made the exact same joke before he did. Except that's what he's doing. The Fetterneck shit is unhinged. What is this?
Who was Well, last week we told you in some great detail about a man called John Fetterman who was running for the U.S. Senate from Pennsylvania. What we didn't mention at the time was Fetterman's running mate because honestly we didn't know he had a running mate. But we learned the identity of this running mate yesterday when Fetterman for the first time in memory removed the filthy DNA-covered hoodie that, as it turns out, conceals quite a bit underneath. So beneath the foul-smelling hoodie was this protrusion.
Foul-smelling hoodie? Dude, what the fuck? This is like no holds barred, you know what I mean? How do people watch this shit unironically? He cannot be legally this mean, right? Yeah, it doesn't matter. He can. He 100% can. I mean, I'm this fucking mean to Republicans, right-wingers. You know what I mean?
As you can see, it's not quite a goiter, but it's definitely bigger than a pimple. It's a lump. But what sort of lump? That's really the question. Does this lump have its own Instagram? Does it plan to run for statewide office in Pennsylvania? Don't laugh. A party that put Joe Biden in the White House is perfectly capable of building a whole campaign around any insentient lump of flesh. In fact, they're running John Fetterman, who can't even talk. So keep your eyes on this lump. It could very well run with Kamala Harris in.
It's fucking bananas, dude. I don't know anymore. I mean, this shit hurt. I can't watch Tucker Carlson for longer. It just pisses me off so much. All right, let's talk about the racist recordings that led to the questions of redistricting fairness in Los Angeles. You guys recall, I talked about this already. The LA City Council members, including the president, had a leaked conversation in which they said some really fucking racist shit. The president has now resigned. A couple people have resigned that were involved in the conversation. Let's take a look at some of the updates here.
Now
but one of the conversations, here, they'll describe
California, where the Los Angeles City Councilor who ignited widespread outrage with racist remarks, caught on tape, has resigned under heavy pressure. In a statement, Nuri Martinez said this in part: "I wanted to see a change in my community and fight for my neighbors. This is what it has been about all along." Two other councilors heard on the same tape are ignoring calls for them to step down. Mark Strassman is in Los Angeles with more on this story. Mark, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Gail. Nuri Martinez is gone, but Nuri fury. The citywide outrage over this leaked tape may go on, especially since those two other council members on that tape refused to resign. Their conversation was offensive, possibly illegal, too. A backroom meeting about city redistricting, and California's Attorney General is now looking into it. The investigation, announced Wednesday, will look into whether 3 LA City Council members violated state or federal voting rights laws for conversations like the one you're about to hear. On a secretly recorded audio tape, local labor leader Ron Herrera discusses redistricting with former City Council President Nuri Martinez. Both resigned their posts this week.
I get what we have to do, right? Just massage to create districts that benefit you all, right, and the future. But we got to figure out Mark's seat, too.
That year-old recording, often coarse and racist, was obtained by the LA Times. It suggests Martinez gaming out potential ways to divvy up the district of disgraced councilman Mark Ridley Thomas.
If he resigns and the African Americans look at this as a hostile takeover because he's gone, we'll have to figure that out, because politically they're going to come after him.
Ridley Thomas is suspended from his position and facing trial, scheduled to begin next month on federal bribery charges. He's pleaded not guilty.
There's rot in LA City. There's just no other way to talk about it.
Jessica Levinson is an election law expert at Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles.
These comments are not just vile. They're not just racist. They're also potentially legally problematic. What we have are discussions not just about increasing Latino voting power, but taken in context, potentially also about diluting African-American voting power. And that's where you get a potential legal issue.
What's striking about Martinez's resignation statement, she apologized only to her staff. Nothing to anyone else she offended, including another council member's family and his adopted black son.
Yeah. I mean, she called Mike Bonin's 2-year-old adopted son a monkey. Wild shit, dude. Anyway, here is the Parkland shooter life in prison sentencing hearing. I mean, spoiler alert, he actually avoided the death penalty here. So let's take a look at what happened.
Adjudicated of 17 counts of murder in the first degree. The jury.
Oh, sorry. Before I get to that here, I was going to tie this back into AOC. Where the fuck is it? LA City Council member. The hearings were recorded. It came out. AOC also had something to say about it. Here it is. Sorry. We're going to talk about Nicholas Cruz in a second.
It violates the public trust. Just point blank, period. That's the beginning of it. That's the end of it. But I do want to dig a little bit deeper into the psychology of that, because it's also just as bad, if not worse. In corrupt, racist, classist environments, systems, political situations, people in power rely on pitting communities against each other. whether it's racially, geographically, whatever. They rely on pitting, trying to get Black communities and Latino communities and Asian communities and Native communities seen as each other's enemies, white communities, rural, urban, all of it. And leaders who fall for that are not equipped to lead. And frankly, this scarcity mentality that we need to pit or be suspicious of other ethnic groups or of other types of interest groups, geography, this, that, and the other, comes from the top. It comes from a vested classist interest, racist interest, etc.
Right. Those in the capital owning class love to divide and conquer the working class by dividing them alongside racial boundaries and pinning marginalized racial groups against one another in an effort to better dominate them, in an effort to better control them. I mean, even, what do you call it? Even fucking AOC's anti-id poll. No, this doesn't mean you're anti-identity politics, okay? The weaponization of identity politics is one thing, okay? And the legitimate problems that people who are supposedly, quote unquote, doing identity politics are doing are an entirely separate thing, okay? Talking about black issues does not immediately mean you're trying to divide the working class. It is a much more nuanced and much more complicated subject than the way that a lot of people believe it is. They think it's black and white. You either only talk about class boundaries or you only talk about racial boundaries, which is, of course, not how this works, okay? Human existence is not on a binary line, okay? So stop thinking in binaries. Class in and of itself, in the way that I see intersectionality, is perhaps the most important part of intersectionality, okay? And all other identity markers of marginalization are built upon class, are built upon classist dynamics, okay? This is how it works. Class is the larger piece of the puzzle, which is why you can look at someone like Oprah Winfrey and a white homeless person and recognize that despite Oprah Winfrey being both a woman and black, her class position as a capital owner, as someone who is profoundly wealthy, affords her a better future and affords future generations of her next in line, family members, a better future than the white guy who is homeless. Okay? And anyone who tries to tell you that that is not the case is probably fucking stupid. All right? That's how this works. Only if you remove all other class markers and compare one person to the next, a black person and a white person of exact identical financial backgrounds, with exact identical jobs, can you genuinely see the main difference? Okay, the main difference between, if you want to isolate the racial component there, you have to take class out of the equation. Okay? And in that circumstance, when you isolate other factors as best as you can, you will always see centuries of racism, white supremacy, and how it was a foundational building tool, a building block of American society and American civilization, with its institutional influence still permeating in American existence. Only then do you see the difference. Because black people, when all other factors are isolated, are always going to do worse than white people. Okay? At least there is empirical evidence to show this reality, that a middle-class black person and a middle-class black family is always going to perform worse than a middle-class white family, regardless of the educational level, regardless of the opportunities afforded to them, regardless of the current financial circumstances that they are in. Okay? There it is. That's how this works. Define perform before you get canceled. I mean, like, career opportunities are not going to be as broad and as available to the black worker as it is to the white worker. Obviously, there will always be exceptions to this rule. This is not a rule in and of itself, but this is how it bears itself out in empirical evidence. How do you find two identical people like that? How do you control for all other variables besides race? You can't. It's never going to be perfect. Just like one of the main variables in this circumstance is always going to be, again, the intergenerational inability to access wealth for the black person. Every single African-American descendant of slaves in this country right now is 1.5 generations removed from abject poverty. Okay? How are you going to fucking factor that in when you try to find two identical cases between a white person and a black person? You can't. 1 out of every 5 black children has a single parent that is incarcerated. That statistic goes up to 1 out of 42 when you look at white children. How do you factor that in? This system was designed to create outcomes like this because the system deserves, or not deserves, but the system necessitates a permanent underclass. Even before you think about the profit rate and its tendency to decline. Okay? That's why corporations look for new alternatives to squeeze profits as best as they can from the same labor pool that it has. That's why you see it even with Twitch, which is not profitable enough. What do? We got to go to some of the content creators and ask them, demand them a higher percentage of their earnings. Okay? Anyway, let's finish this.
Because the more you can stoke like just whatever fighting amongst ourselves is less time that we're building solidarity with one another. And we need to be able to trust each other. And if we don't have that trust, we're not going to be able to build together. That's really so much at the core of what this is about. But we've seen what the outcome of those things. They're old school political machines like from the 90s and plenty of other decades. And you know what it also yields? A lot of corruption. Because when all you care about, or any other decision on such a superficial zero-sum mentality, that is dangerous. And that is what people in power rely on in order to make sure that nothing changes. Office.
Yeah. Those who profit from a lack of change to the hierarchy, okay, to the pre-existing hierarchy, will oftentimes use many different methods to focus your attention elsewhere, create new enemies, to create new villains. And the weaponization of identity politics, the weaponization of one marginalized community against another is absolutely one of the more effective ways of doing so. Parkland shooting was staged. Why do I have people like this? This is wild as fuck, man. That's crazy. You all right, bro? Explain. Coming from a diverse middle-class community, I feel bad for my black friends that did well for themselves because they're never accepted from the black kids who got involved in drugs and robbery, yet never quite accepted by their peers. What? Did you say anything else? Why are people opposing so much right now? Dude, it's been TwitchCon, man. Since TwitchCon, it was just been, he said it was joking, which is crazy. Yeah, it's just, it's gotten weirder and weirder, but you know, we're just waiting it out. Eventually people will stop. Woo. Anyway, regardless, the only thing that won't stop is the top of the hour ad break. Because at the top of the hour, there's a 60-second ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you could do for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Or you can get gifted a sub. Thank you, Alex Franco AV, and thank you, Sohei Bozo, for the 5 gifted subs, allowing 10 people to no longer see the ads. Here's the 1-minute ad break now. Anyway. That 60-second ad break was staged. That's true.